Welcome to the PARS Playwork for Schools Level 2 Customised Qualification webinar for the new programme that we're launching for schools and anybody who wants to introduce PARS Playwork practice to schools around the world. This is a really great opportunity for me to talk about this new qualification. I'm particularly excited about it because actually PARS almost started in our work with schools a long time ago, and so this is a really exciting session for me to be working with at the moment. My name's Shelley Newstead. I'm the creator of PARS Playwork Practice, the model that I developed for my PhD. And what I'm going to do in this session is just talk to you a little bit about the PPP2 customised qualification that we're now offering for schools, and a little bit about the PARS model of Playwork Practice, and where it came from and how it can be now used in schools, and also a bit about the qualification itself and how that works. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Playwork, Playwork was invented by the Adventure Playground pioneers just after the Second World War. And it was invented as an alternative approach to working with children in their free time. And there's lots of different interpretations now of Playwork and what that means and what it's for, but it is used in many different countries around the world, and it is recognised as a distinct profession in the UK. Playwork came out of the Adventure Playgrounds very early on, and started to be used in places like schools and hospitals and residential care homes here in the UK. And as I said, there's been quite a lot of different interpretations about Playwork over the years. We could talk about that for much longer, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you about our interpretation of Playwork practice, which is called PARS. So the PARS model is the first model of Playwork practice to describe and define the practice of Playwork. It was created by myself as part of my doctoral studies. And the reason that I created it was because I was working with schools at the time. And I was trying to measure the difference that it made training lunchtime supervisors, as we call them here in the UK, in Playwork, and whether training those lunchtime supervisors in Playwork made any difference to the children in the playground, the way that they played or how they felt about their lunchtimes, and etc., etc. But the problem that I found was that I couldn't actually find a model of practice in the modern day Playwork literature to use to do my measurements with. So I went into the literature from the Adventure Playground pioneers 60, 70 years ago to look for what they were talking about in the name of Playwork. And I found lots of theories and lots of practices, but I didn't find a coherent model which said this is Playwork and this is not Playwork, and this is why we do what we do as Playwork practitioners. So without going into all the details about how I did it, I've written about that elsewhere. I then put together the PARS model, and the PARS model is a model. Sometimes people use the word model to mean a set of words. That's not the case in the case of PARS. It is actually a model which contains its own philosophy. It contains 7 theories, 4 methods, and 12 techniques that as a whole make up PARS Playwork practice. We're very keen on research in the PARS community, and we've started looking at the effect that people who use PARS has on children and on adults. And we're very pleased to find that research has found that PARS does make a difference, and PARS training does make a difference to adults who work where children play. And some of the things that adults do less of is get involved in children's self-directed play, and also they're more open to children taking risks. And so that work is very important to us, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. So although PARS started in adventure playgrounds, in adventure playground research, and although Playwork started in adventure playgrounds, it's really important to think about the fact that PARS is applicable to lots and lots of different settings. So all over the world now, PARS is being used in lots of different types of environments where adults work with children. We've got people who work in zoos who are PARS practitioners, prisons, domestic refuges, hospitals, and of course schools. And what's happened in the last few years is that the PARS people who've been using PARS have sort of developed themselves into an international PARS community, which has sort of developed itself, I think. It's not something that I ever sort of planned or envisaged would happen, but we've now got this wonderful community of PARS practitioners and Playwork trainers who all get together and support each other. We've got 23 trainers in lots of different countries, as you can see there. We are an NCFE International Award Centre, so that we are able to demonstrate the quality of our accredited programmes and our training and quality assurance processes in general. We run our own CPD programme for PARS practitioners and for trainers. So we run lots of exciting events like the PARS Book Club, we run conferences, we run special events for people who want to develop their knowledge in certain areas like the play cycle observation method. So we want to encourage our PARS practitioners not just to come and do a course or an accredited programme with us. We want them to get involved. We want them to be part of this community and to continue learning from each other and also from lots of other areas of influence outside our PARS community. And that's why we're very into research. We are very fortunate we have the support of lots of academics from outside the PARS community who support PARS, both in doing things like sitting on editorial boards of the Journal of Playwork Practice, developing research, supporting our SIGs, our special interest groups, and we also encourage practitioners to get involved in all of those areas of activity, so that as a community of practitioners and trainers, we just keep learning from each other and from the wider knowledge that's available to us. So if you take a program with us, we don't just say goodbye after your certificate is awarded. We want you to keep being part of this community and to help everybody else to learn from each other. So as I said, this work really for putting PARS into schools really started in schools. The development of PARS really did start with schools. A little while back now, and I just want to tell you a bit about the history of PARS in schools. We ran a playtime project which was actually started by a local authority in the UK, Wigan Borough Council, who commissioned lots of consultancy work by myself and training by our training team to go and help the schools to think about behaviour management. And when I originally got the call from the local authority, I said, you've got the wrong people, I'm afraid. We do play and playtimes. We don't do behaviour management and we don't do schools. And they said, no, what we've got is we've got a problem with behaviour in the schools And we think that actually it's being caused by playtimes. And we want you to come and help us to think about how to make playtimes better. And so that we can then take a holistic approach within the school. So that's where the Playtime project really started, and much to my astonishment, certainly, we found that there were all sorts of knock-on effects from putting play back into the playground. And it's not something that I'd really anticipated, but there were all sorts of effects in terms of children's learning and development that we then developed publications around in order to share that learning and share that knowledge, including this publication here, Playtime, which was a book and a DVD, which was supported by the Department for Education at the UK government level at the time, which was then distributed to lots of schools to help them learn from the project as well. I ended up speaking at the National Union of Teachers Conference, and the whole project was featured in the Lost Adventures of Childhood documentary, and the link for that is in the chat at the moment. So the Playtime project was where it all started, and this then led to my doctoral research, because one of the academics who was involved in the Playtime project said to me, "Oh, there's a PhD in there, Shelley. You should do a PhD." And the thing that really started the PhD was actually this plastic pink hippo, because one day I was standing in the playground, and I'd given the children swords, foam swords, to play with, and some of the boys went and cut the hippo's head off with the foam swords, and this hippo's head rolled down the playground that was at an angle, and I was standing up from the boys. I didn't really I wasn't anywhere near them, but they started laughing, and so did I. And we were all laughing like mad. And then I looked round and looked at the other adults on the playground, who were all a bit stony faced and not very happy at all. And at that point, I thought, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Why do I find that funny and other adults don't? And I have actually written more about that story in the this book here, the Researching Play from Playwork Perspective, if you want to find out more about the decapitation of the pink plastic hippo. And that's where the PhD went, really. It went from the pink plastic hippo and thinking about adults and why adults reacted differently, looking into what the Adventure Playground pioneers had to say about that. And here we are today at PARS Playwork Practice Level 2. As I said, things have really grown and developed since I finished my PhD in many unexpected ways, and this is really one of them. So PARS Playwork Practice Level 2 is a new program, but it's already been run twice now. And we've had people already started to pass their assessments and starting the certification process, which is really exciting. We have found that it can be used anywhere in any countries, many different countries, and it is an assessed program which is accredited by NCFE, who are one of the leading award bodies here in the UK. And I'll say a bit more about that later on. So what is PARS Playwork Practice really all about? Well, it can all be really summed up by this picture here, and we call this scenario Tunnel Boy in our training programs. And this really sums up what the PARS model of playwork practice is about. because many Playwork courses will teach you about play and how good play is for children, and that's all right and it's all true. Absolutely, we all need to know that, and I'm sure many of us do already. But where PARS is different is that in PARS we only teach about the PARS model of playwork practice and what the PARS model of playwork practice does. And the PARS model of playwork practice helps you to make decisions about situations like this. So in this scenario, we have a boy who's clearly having fun, who is leaning down on a child who is inside a plastic tunnel. And what we try to encourage people to do on PARS courses is to recognise that there are lots of different ways to see this scenario. Because we could take the grown-up perspective and we could say something like, well, yep, they're bound to do something wrong in a minute. No, he's got a child in the tunnel. Right, you shouldn't use the equipment like that, and actually somebody's going to get hurt, or get out of that now. Okay, that's one perspective. And those things might be true. Absolutely. The child in the tunnel might be trying to breathe or shout for help, and there could be a serious health and safety issue. But there's also another perspective, which it might be the best fun that those children have ever had, because they found new ways of doing something. They found new ways and they've decided to actually invent some sort of game and to have tremendous fun. And so there's the PARS way of seeing it, which is, as we use the definition of play that we use in PARS, which is that they've created something that perhaps adults would never have thought of and don't really appreciate, frankly, but it's still hugely valuable to them. So there's different perspectives here. And what the PARS model does is asks practitioners to consider these different perspectives. That there's the standard adult response, as we talk about in PARS. Stop that, don't do that, you'll break that, that wasn't meant for that. Or there's another way of looking at it, which is actually you're having great fun. There might be some health and safety issues, so we're going to keep an eye on it. But let's take a more proactive approach about seeing if we can help children to do things from their own perspective and from their own way. And I love this quote from one of the head teachers on the Playtime project, because it's what it's really what she was talking about, which is that shift in perspective. Yeah, just trying to see that there's a different way of looking at this, and then evaluating how we're going to respond. Because what we do in PARS is not say play is good, children should always play, it doesn't matter if they hurt themselves, etc., etc. Because there could actually be some serious problems with this scenario. That child inside the tunnel might be really scared, or they might be suffocating for all we know, but also they might be having fun. So what the PARS methodology does is teach us how to see things from lots of different perspectives and to make those very quick evaluations about what we think might be going on and what our appropriate response is. Because in some scenarios like this, it will be absolutely appropriate to say to the children, no, sorry, that's getting out of hand. Just pack that in and go and find something else to do. In other times, it would be an appropriate response to say, oh, that's interesting. They found a different way of using that piece of equipment. I'm just going to keep an eye on that from a distance and make sure that it's okay. So the PARS model doesn't teach you what to do. It teaches you how to make the decisions about whether you're going to get involved or not, always considering that sometimes children have a different perspective, a different way of seeing the world, and may see value in things that we as adults don't. So level 2 is a introductory level course here in the UK, and we teach the whole model, but we don't teach it in depth because there is a lot of it, and obviously as it was created from doctoral research, you'd expect there to be an awful lot to learn. So the aim of this PARS Playwork for Schools Level 2 course is to enable practitioners to begin to use the PARS model to describe and develop their playwork practice. Now, a lot of people say when they come on PARS courses, oh, what a relief, because now I've got language. I can talk about what I can see, what I'm doing, and the decisions that I make. And I didn't know how to do that before because I didn't have the language to do that. And we find that particularly helpful in schools where there's perhaps a different perspective sometimes with educational aims, and to be able to shift that perspective at lunchtime and for people to be able to describe what it is that they've shifted to and why is really quite valuable. I put this picture in here as a bit of a joke, actually, because this is a lunchtime supervisor doing cartwheels. But I just wanted to reassure everybody that actually part of PARS training is not to encourage you to do cartwheels or to play yourselves. It's important to be playful and to see things from a play perspective, but we don't necessarily want you to be jumping around and doing cartwheels all the time. What the course is about is it's about understanding the model and getting to know all the different parts of it. So we break the level 2 course down into 6 units. We do 1 unit per week over 6 weeks, and it covers the whole of the PARS model, not in great depth, as I said, because our 6 weekly sessions are only 2 hours each, but you will, by the end of the course, have put into practice, have learned the whole model and have had a chance to put that into practice as well in your school settings. So this is just a quick slide to show you how it all works. Ignore the dates. This is an example from a previous course. So the total qualification time for this program is 25 hours, and 12 of those are taught. So we expect people for roughly around 13 hours to be doing their assessments, which are assessed by workbook, to be carrying out some observations in their schools, to be doing a little bit of their own reflective practice, and to be participating in perhaps some other sessions that are included in this course. So we have, for example, the admin support session that happens right at the start of the course, and that's run by our training manager, Fen Harrison, and that helps you to do the administrative bits that are needed to be done, and also help around Dropbox and where to find things and how to upload things, etc., etc. We also have an Ask the Assessor session, which is run by Helen, our lead IQA, Internal Quality Assurer, and that takes place early on in the course as well, and she will help you to think about the assessment requirements for the course. And at this level, the course is assessed through workbooks and multiple choice questions. Those are then assessed by one of our assessors, not the trainer for the course. So the teaching happens over 6 weeks. And then as you become more familiar with the PARS model, you start doing your assessment workbooks and you upload those, and then you get feedback from the assessor. And if necessary, you get another chance to have another go at it if you need it. And that process continues right through until the course finishes, just after the 6-week period, at which there's a deadline, and then everything is then submitted and looked at by our lead quality assurer, Helen, who then is then submits everything to NCFE for verification and certification. There's a number of ways that you can access the PPP2 for Schools course. There are some open online courses that are already on our website. We can arrange in-house training, either face-to-face or online, and we find that particularly effective for school teams because everybody can then get on the same page with what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to implement it in your school teams. And we've also found that's really helpful if management are involved as well. And we, as I said, we have 23 trainers in 11 different countries. So those opportunities are available in lots of different countries. Or of course, you could always join our licensed training team if you want to, if you wanted to deliver the program yourselves. We qualify all of our trainers to level 4. And then once that process has been completed, then you could deliver the course yourself to anybody who wanted to take part. If you are interested in either taking part in a PPP2 for Schools course or for becoming a licensed trainer, do contact us, do get in touch. There's lots of different information there and ways of doing that. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.